Good morning everyone, let us start. Remember we have been learning chapter 5 natural vegetation. Today we shall discuss about conservation of forests. Now I shall present my screen. So here we have forest conservation. Let us read. Okay, this paragraph tells why conservation of forest is required, necessary. Okay, so let us read. Forests have an integrated interrelationship with life and environment. So forests have a very close relationship with life and environment, and forests provide numerous direct and indirect advantages to our economy and society. Forests give us a lot of useful things, okay, and hence conservation of forests is of vital importance to the survival and prosperity of humankind. Okay, conservation of forests is of vital importance for the survival and prosperity of humankind. Okay, to have a sustainable development, we need conservation of forests. Accordingly, the government of India proposed to have a nationwide forest conservation policy and adopted a forest policy in 1952, which was further modified in 1988. Okay, so to conserve forests in India, the government proposed to have a nationwide forest conservation policy and adopted in 1952, and it was further modified in 1988. According to the new forest policy, the government will emphasize sustainable forest management in order to conserve and expand the forest reserve on the one hand and to meet the needs of local people on the other. So according to this new forest policy 1988, the government emphasized sustainable forest management, that is thinking for the future, okay, as well as think about these local people who are sustain, okay, who are dependent on the forest products. And the forest policy aim at number one, bringing 33% of the geographical areas under forests. Okay, so geographical area of India is 3.28 million square kilometer, and to bring 33% of the geographical areas under forests, okay, cover. Actually, last time we discussed that forest cover in India is only 23.28%. Okay, and according to this new forest policy, we have to bring 33% of the geographical areas under forest covered. So this is the target. Okay. Then the next point is maintaining environmental stability and to restore forests where ecological balance was disturbed. Okay, so the number 2 point, okay, the number 2 aims and objectives of Indian forest policy is to maintain environmental stability, environmental balance, okay, equilibrium, and to restore the forest where ecological balance was disturbed. Number 3, conserving the natural heritage of the country and its biological diversity and the genetic pool. okay, to conserve the biodiversity. So this is the third point. Okay, all the types of biodiversity, be it genetic biodiversity or say in any other form, okay, maybe ecological diversity, all the types of diversity must be conserved. Then number 4, sack soil erosion, extension of desert lanes, and a reduction of flood and droughts. Okay, to sack soil erosion, then to sack the extension of desert lands, that is expansion of desert lands, and to reduce the flood and the droughts. Number 5, increasing the forest cover through social forestry and afforestation on degraded land. Okay, so about the social forestry we shall be reading in detail, okay, later on. Then number 6, increasing the productivity of the forest to make timber, fuel, fodder, food available to rural population dependent on forests, and encourage the substitution of wood. Okay, the number 6 aim is to increase the productivity of the forest to make timber, fuel, fodder, that is food for the animals, and food available to rural population dependent on forest. Okay, so we know that many rural people are dependent on the forest for their survival. Okay, and to make available those basic needs to the rural population is also another objective of the this new forest policy 1998. Okay, and to encourage the substitution of wood, so use of wood for cooking, okay, and other purposes must be substituted by other means like natural gases, for example, or electricity. And number 7 point, creating of a massive people's movement involving women to encourage planting of trees, stop felling of trees, and thus reduce pressure on the existing forests. Okay, number 7 point is very important. Okay, creating of a massive people's movement involving women. So why should women be involved in the conservation process? Any idea? To encourage planting of trees, to stop felling of trees, cutting of trees, and thus reduce pressure on the existing forest. So why should women be involved in the conservation of forests? Do you have any idea? If you see this photograph, okay, see here we have a photograph. See, actually in most part of India, collection of firewood and fodder is mainly done by women folk, as you are seeing here. Okay, women are collecting firewood from the forest, and another photograph also here, okay, collecting fodder and firewood from the forest. So these are mainly done by women folk in India, and that is why this conservation process, okay, in the conservation process of the forest, women also must be involved and must be educated. Okay, and next we have this forest and life, that is the relation between forest and life. So this is about the relation between forest and the tribal people. Okay, to a vast number of tribal people, the forest is a home, a livelihood, and their very existence. So it provides them food, okay, then all kind of fruits, then edible leaves, honey, nourishing roots, and wild game. So it provides them, so forest provides them with materials to build their houses and items for practicing their arts. The importance of forests in tribal economy is well known, as they are the source of subsistence, sustenance, and a livelihood for the tribal communities. Okay, that means tribal people are dependent on the forest products for their sustenance, for their survival. Okay, and it is commonly believed that tribal communities live in harmony with nature and protect forests. Actually, tribal people are conserving forests. Okay, they are not totally harming the forest. They are using the resources, but they are also conserving the forest. They are living in complete harmony with the nature and protect the forest. So we have the proof here. Okay, out of a total of 593 districts in India, 188 districts have been identified as tribal districts. And the tribal districts account for about 59.61% of total forest cover of the country. Whereas geographical area of 188 tribal districts forms only 33.63% of the total geographical area of India. Okay, so tribal districts constitute only 33.63% of the total geographical area of India, but the forest cover, okay, contributed by the tribal districts accounts for about 59.61%. So it demonstrates that the tribal districts are generally rich in forest cover. Okay, and they are conserving the forest because we find more areas under forest in the tribal districts, and it proves that tribal people are conserving the forests. Okay, and forests and the tribals are very closely related, then age-old knowledge of tribals regarding forestry can be used in the development of forests rather than treating tribals as minor forest produce collectors. They should be made growers of minor forest produce and encouraged to participate in the conservation process. So we must encourage them to involve in the conservation process, okay, so that the forest can be more productive. Okay, are you clear? Any question?
Yes, sir.
Then let us continue. See, now we are going to read about the conservation measures of forests in India. Okay, so based on the forest conservation policy, the following steps were initiated. The government has initiated the following steps to conserve the forest as a part of the forest conservation policy. Okay, so the first step is the social forestry. What do you mean by social forestry? See, social forestry means the management and the protection of forests and the afforestation to own barren lands with the purpose of helping in the environmental, social, and rural development. Okay, social forestry means management and the protection of forests and a large-scale plantation of trees on the barren lands, means the lands which are not used for cultivation, okay, with the purpose of helping in the environment, then social and rural development. So this is a collective work, okay, as you are seeing here. So this is a kind of collective work as you are seeing here, social forestry. And the National Commission on Agriculture 1976 has classified social forestry into three categories. So social forestry can be categorized into three types. They are urban forestry, then rural forestry, and farm forestry. So what do you mean by urban forestry? Okay, urban forestry pertains to the raising and the management of trees on public and privately owned lands in and around urban centers such as green belt, park, roadside avenues, industrial and commercial green belts. So urban forestry relates, okay, to the raising and the management of trees. Urban forestry relates to the planting and management of trees on the public and privately owned lands in and around urban centers, in and around towns and cities, such as green belts, okay, plantation of green belts in the industrial areas or in the cities, then in the parks, then plantation of trees on the roadside, okay, and other commercial establishments. Okay, so here we have an example of urban forestry here. So this is an example of urban forestry done by Maharashtra government. Okay, this here, this has been developed as a part of the urban forestry program. Okay, in and around the these towns in Maharashtra. Okay, here you may be seeing. Okay, it's a kind of park. Trees are growing, and here places for shooting are also there. Then rural forestry lays emphasis on the promotion of agroforestry and community forestry. Okay, so rural forestry consists of agroforestry and community forestry. So what do you mean by agroforestry? Agroforestry is the raising of trees and agricultural crops on the same land. Okay, agroforestry is the raising of trees and agricultural crops on the same land, inclusive of vast spaces. Okay, and it combines forestry with agriculture, thus altering the simultaneous production of food, fodder, fuel, timber, and fruit. So in agroforestry, there is simultaneous production of timber as well as food for us and food for the animals. And here we have an example of agroforestry. Okay, see here, agroforestry. Here in between the trees, vegetables, okay, crops are growing. So this is an example of agroforestry. And next we have community forestry. Community forestry involves in the raising of trees, okay, on the public or community lane, okay, such as village pasture, then temple lane, roadside, canal banks, strips along the railway lines, and the schools. So community forestry involves raising of trees on the public or community lane, such as village grass lane, village temple lane, village this roadside, canal bank, strips along the railway lines, and schools. Okay, and the community forestry program aims at providing benefits to the community as a whole. Okay, and this is an example of this community forestry. Okay, these women folk are growing trees, planting trees along the rural roads. Okay, along the roadside of the railroads. So this is an example of community forestry. Then next we have farm forestry, another measure for conserving forests. Farm forestry is a term applied, okay, to the process under which farmers grow trees for commercial and non-commercial purposes on their farmlands. Okay, so farm forestry means the process of growing trees for commercial and non-commercial purposes on their farmland. Okay, farmers are growing trees for selling or for other purposes or for domestic uses. That is known as farm forestry. Okay, just here we have an example. So this is an example of farm forestry. Okay, here this farmer is growing trees. Okay, is growing trees in his farm for selling, for timber, okay, for selling timbers and other products. So this is an example of farm forestry, and this is a part of conservation process. And the forest department of various states distributes the seedling of trees, okay, free of cost to the small and medium farmers for this purpose. Then several lands such as margins or agricultural fields, then grasslands, pastures, then land around the homes, cow shed may be used for raising trees under non-commercial farm forestry. Okay, so these are about the conservation of forests in India. Okay, initiated by the government. So do you have questions regarding conservation of forests in India? Okay, if you don't have, Then let us read about wildlife in India. You know that wildlife in India is declining. The number of wildlife in India is declining, and what are the reasons for declining wildlife? Let us read. Okay, so wildlife of India is a great natural heritage. Okay, wildlife of India is a great natural heritage. So these are our resources, and they also help, okay, in maintaining the ecological balance. And it is estimated that about 4 to 5% of known plants and animal species on the earth are found in India. That means India is rich in biodiversity. Okay, the main reason for this remarkable diversity of these life forms is the great diversity of ecosystem which the country has preserved and supported through ages. Over the years, their habitat has been disturbed by human activities, and as a result their numbers have dwindled significantly. Okay, say since the ancient times, forest in India has been exploiting. Okay, and during the British rules also, these many forests have been exploited for the construction of railway lines, then for the industrial purposes, then for the start of the plantation agriculture. Okay, so in this way, habitats of wild animals have been disturbed by the human activities, and as a result, the number of wild animals declined significantly. And there are certain species that are at the brink of extinction. That means some of the animals are going to be disappeared from the surface of the earth. So what are the reasons for declining the wildlife are given below. Okay, important reasons of declining wildlife in India are as follows. So number one reason is that industrial and technological advancement brought about a rapid increase in the exploitation of forest resources. Okay, you know, some industries uses forest, okay, products, okay, as the raw material. For example, these paper and the pulp industry. So this industry is using these forest products, that is woods, okay, softwoods, for the manufacturing of paper, then for the manufacturing of synthetic textiles, and still there are many other industries depending on the forest product. Okay, so in this way, due to industrial development and technological advancement, forest in India has been exploited. Once trees were cut by using axes, now using this electric saws. Okay, it is exploited. It is cut using large machines. Trees can be cut on a large scale in few hours. Okay, then number two, more and more lands were cleared for agriculture, then human settlement, roads, mining, reservoirs. Population of India has been increasing rapidly, and that is why we need more land for settlement. Then we need more food for the increasing population. That is why we need to expand the agricultural land. And while constructing the roads, also forests are destroyed. While constructing multi-purpose projects, forests are destroyed. Mining activities also destroy the forest areas in India, and hence the habitat, the home for the wild animals, okay, are lost. Then number three, pressure on the forest mounted due to lopping for further than fuel wood and the removal of small timber by local people. So local people are lopping, cutting the branches of the trees or the small trees in the forest, as well as they are collecting the fodder for the animals. Then grazing by domestic cattle cause an adverse effect on the wildlife and its habitat. You know, if we don't control the overgrazing of the animals in this forest, okay, then all the grassland will be consumed within a few months, and hence no food will be available for the wild animals. So we must control the grazing. Okay, overgrazing. Then number 5, hunting was taken up as a sport by the elite, and hundreds of wild animals were killed in a single hunt. Now commercial poaching is a rampant, okay, prevalent. Actually, hunting has been taken as a sport by the elite people, by the rich people, and hundreds of wild animals can be killed within a single hunt using these modern rifles. Okay. Then number 6 point, incidents of forest fire. So here the forest fire may be caused by the this natural process like lightning, but in most part of the India, forest fire is done by these people for cultivation purposes. For example, for shifting cultivation, okay, forests are cleared and burned down, and hence the home for the wild animals destroyed. Okay, so because of all these reasons, wild animals in India have been declined. Okay. Are you clear? Any question? Okay, if you don't have questions, then let us stop here for today. Thank you very much for joining my class.